And we're back here at Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, as usual, and we're here with Ashley Baker from the Committee for Justice in Washington, D.C. I'm going to throw another sort of a sidewinder to you. I hope you don't mind, but I just find this topic, there's so many different facets to it. And, you know, part of the concern about large technology companies and large governments, for that matter, is this idea of the surveillance state. That, you know, and this goes back to the privacy issue, of course, but it goes beyond that because there might be, bad actors who are taking advantage of backdoors in technology companies, whether it's WhatsApp or whether it's Facebook or what have you, that again can severely compromise an individual. So is that a concern? It sounds to me like a consumer concern, but it's also a concern about how the state uses its power, given the prevalence of big tech. Would you care to comment on that?
Absolutely. I mean, the government is the ultimate monopoly of them all, right? They are the biggest and the most powerful. And when antitrust laws were initially written, they were designed to go towards government-created monopolies. I think it's something worth noting, is monopolies that, the government's actions led to them being big and powerful when it came to railroad and oil companies. And the like back in those days. But I think when it comes to privacy, for example, yes, the government, I think when you're talking about privacy and your relationship with data and a company, that's more of data protection and data regulation. It's more privacy and surveillance when it comes to the government. And that's when you have in the United States your Fourth Amendment rights that come into play.
Do you think that this is a change that's happening? What I'm trying to say is, are views that were prevailing, say, 10 or 20 years ago different from what might be happening in the future? And is there perhaps a demographic difference between what a baby boomer sees as a problem versus what a millennial sees as a problem?
Yes and no. It depends on specifically the problem and the person's access to that type of technology, their experience using it. I think when it comes to privacy across the board, from baby boomers to Generation X or whatever the youngest one is. Now us millennials are now getting into our 40s. So I'm not going to use that as much of a comparison. But as technology evolves, the privacy concerns are definitely increasing. You look at facial recognition technology, for example, and there are certainly concerns across the board about how the government is using that type of technology. So I think when it comes to government power, I think that all generations are rightfully concerned by that.
Have you been doing any research into the impacts of 5G?
Not really. In what sense?
In the sense that obviously the prevalence of online activity is only going to increase, and the ability of surveillance is going to be higher.
I think so. It might take a while for that to really roll out. I think in the way that some people think that it will. I mean, people have been concerned about artificial intelligence and the singularity for decades, and I think that's something we won't even see in my lifetime. I mean, 5G is a lot more on the horizon, but I think overall the improvements that we're making in the telecommunications sphere is great for internet access, especially across rural America.
We've got about a half a minute left. I just want to put your futuristic hat on. What do you see happening in the next few years in this area?
In the antitrust area?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I see this to be continuing for a while. I mean, it has been hyper politicized for quite some time, and that's because of some of the other issues that are not really competition issues. I see more people getting kind of into the weeds on antitrust, and I see these cases that have been raised, particularly by state attorneys generals, progressing, and we'll see the application of those. It takes litigation a few years to play out, so that moves about the same pace as legislation, which takes quite a while too. But I think we'll see the political dynamics breaking down maybe a little bit differently over the next couple of years.
Ashley Baker, that's the amount of time we have, unfortunately, but I wish you well with a very interesting and a lively area of debate in our society. Best of luck.